Hi, everybody. This is our first time reading Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. This is going to be a little different than what we're used to, so I just ask that you bear with me and follow along with this video. So we're going to read this poem twice. I'm going to read it to you first, so you can just get a general feel for the poem, and then you will pause the video to answer some questions on Schoology that go with the first reading. And then the second time around, I'm going to play a YouTube video narrated by Viola Davis, who's a famous actress who is going to read the poem. And hopefully you'll have a different kind of understanding with her narration of it, and then you'll have more questions to answer after she reads it. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, son, I'll tell you. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time I's been a climbin' on, and reachin' landin's and turnin' corners, and sometimes goin' in the dark where there ain't been no light. So, boy, don't you turn back, don't you set down on the steps, 'cause you'll find it's kinder hard. Don't you fall now, for I's still goin', honey. I's still climbin', and life for me ain't been no crystal stair. So I told you guys before we pause, I told you guys in the introduction PowerPoint that Mother to Son was a free verse poem, and we can really see that here. There is only one spot where this poem rhymes overall, and that is with our first line with the refrain, "Life for me ain't been no crystal stair." So stair and bear is the only place that it rhymes in the whole poem. And obviously, there isn't really a set stanza pattern either. The lines are just kind of sporadic. So really, the only thing that makes this a poem is that general meter, that flow that we've talked about before. And I really hope that you kind of have a better understanding of what that looks like now. So go ahead and pause the video here, answer the questions on Schoology, and then you can unpause the video and continue with the assignment. All right, welcome back. So we are going to listen to Viola Davis's narration of Mother to Son.
Well, son, I'll tell you. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. Bare. But all the time I's been a climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps 'cause you find it's kinda hard. Don't you fall now. For I's still going, honey. I's still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
All right, guys. So that is again the narration by Viola Davis. I think she does a fantastic job personally narrating that poem, and I think too, obviously, from how I read it compared to how Miss Viola Davis has read it, there's a difference. And obviously, I think we've talked about this before. At least I hope we have. I know I say that a lot. Your personal life and what you've gone through and just who you are in general is going to affect how you read and perceive a poem. And a couple of the questions I asked you after reading the poem the first time through was who the speaker was, who they're talking to, and what the poem's about. And so I hope at least you got the gist of it. So obviously the speaker of the poem is a mom, and she is talking to her son, hence the title, Mother to Son. And she's talking about how her life has not been easy, right? And she compares it to this idea of a really worn down set of stairs. And we get a lot of that imagery that we talked about with the tacks and the splinters and the boards torn up and it being bare, and just dark sometimes too, right? So anyway, I told you in the beginning, the overall theme with this was that was Langston Hughes. He wrote a lot about the struggle of being African American in the U.S. during the 20s and on, right? So obviously, I'm not a colored person, as they would say in the 20s. I'm not African American. I'm Caucasian, right? I'm white, and I think through this poem, it's easy to recognize the privilege that a lot of us have experienced. And again, this comes from my personal background. I haven't really experienced any difficult moments. I think honestly, the most difficult moment that I can think of as far as having to power through hardship is right now, right? With all the uncertainty around COVID. And honestly, I've even been fortunate with that case, not having any family that have caught it or any friends that have caught it or anybody to be really affected by it that I know personally. And I know that's not the case for a lot of people, so I'm very fortunate and privileged in that way. But obviously, Viola Davis, who is a black woman, probably has a very real understanding of what this poem is about, right? To say that, people of minority groups are not struggling anymore would be a lie, right? And I mean all minority groups from all walks of life. And that's what this is really talking about. Facing hardships head on with dignity and hope and determination to get through them and teaching the next generation to do the same thing, right? And so I really hope, even if you read this by yourself first, that you even got something different out of it when you read it personally, because you brought your personal experiences to that reading. When I read it, it probably sounded completely different from how you read it yourself. And that could just be because you weren't familiar with the language or whatever it was. And then having the YouTube video read it, that's going to be even more different from what we're used to or what you originally thought. And so that's why I wanted you to at least have two different experiences of reading this so that you could really understand why we study poetry. Because I know a lot of you, it gets frustrating because you don't understand it, right? This one we started off was a little easier, at least I hope it was for you. So anyway, I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but it's hard to have conversations with you guys on Zoom. And so I kind of have to do it one way, one-sided anyway, through a computer screen. So anyway, I hope you got something out of this. Please go ahead and answer the questions after listening to the second time through with the poem. I'm hoping I can start up a conversation with you guys on Zoom. It really just depends on your cooperation and how much you put into it. So we will see. But anyway, go ahead and answer the questions and get those done. And I will see you all on the Zoom call. Thank you.